far as we've come from Mozart, in a way, we've also come full circle. 18th century musicians were nothing if not improvisers, from which both composition and memorized performance were outgrowths.
The cadenza was really, for Mozart, a vehicle to show, oh, well, I can improvise. I might throw in one of my opera tunes just for everybody's enjoyment. And that cadenza, of course, is just based on the word cadence and is basically just about 5 to 1, except that between 5 and 1, you can play a whole fantasy.
And while pianists improvising their own Mozart concertos is mostly a lost art, save a few notable examples,
he's making that up.
Pianists like Jackie Parker have preserved the element of freedom in the use of popular quotations, updated for the age of TV and film.
On the very night that the movie Star Trek IV was released in movie theaters, and I was stuck playing a Mozart concerto that night, and so my personal tribute went like this. Wrote in this review, she said, if Mozart had been a Trekkie, he would have done that himself.
It's this same spirit of reconciling classical forms with popular culture that Teddy Abrams brings to his entire concerto.
All right, this part coming up here, I'll explain in a second. That's the Warner Brothers theme.
What'd you say?
That's the Warner Brothers theme. Dum, 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 dum. These are quiet quotes. These are for me to enjoy.
Some so quiet and personal that they're classified.
There's also one TV theme that's been hidden. I'm not going to ever say.
Okay, don't tell Teddy, but my working theory is that his secret quote is actually the Hannah Montana theme. I don't have any real evidence yet, but come on. Mix it all together and that's the best of both worlds, crossing over between classical and pop worlds. Just saying. In any case, take a listen and see if you can pick up on any subliminal TV themes. Meanwhile, the four cadenzas in the Abrams concerto are rich with cultural allusions and quotations. That first cadenza, which we saw was a kind of mashup between Art Tatum and Jerry Lee Lewis, ends 4 minutes later in a praise break. Then, after the orchestra is invited back in, the pianist breaks into rapid unison passage work reminiscent of the scherzo movement from Prokofiev's second concerto. If the Abrams concerto was the musical child of Rachmaninoff and Gershwin, Prokofiev was the midwife.
Oh yeah, that's a Prokofiev too, cadenza moment.
This is from the second cadenza of the Abrams concerto. Now, compare it with Prokofiev. Now, I never thought I'd say this, but there's actually a little bit of Jerry Lee Lewis in Prokofiev. Both high energy, ecstatic, with percussive ostinatos and zigzagging glissandi all over the keyboard. Prokofiev's harmonies are just slightly more discordant. But if you heard a little bit of Tchaikovsky and Rachmaninoff in that passage from the Abrams, you wouldn't be wrong either. Which is also itself like Tchaikovsky first concerto, first cadenza.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
so,
True,
exactly.
Yeah.
And that
Or
this,
like the
this
Rachmaninoff.
yes, and this was my point I wasn't making so well. Exactly, that this is a direct Rachmaninoff. This is like. But this is the whole thing. If you listen to this and go, oh, that's pastiche, you're like missing the point. This is a joking reinterpretation of this. This is not actually that. This is commentary on that and how it can be resynthesized.
serious musicians don't know how to be tongue-in-cheek about music, so they might not get the irony.
But this is absolutely done ironically, which is a big millennial thing.
These spectacular virtuoso passages the Abrams concerto ironically references were the culmination of a trend that developed throughout the 19th century, in which composers would fully notate these extended cadenzas, adding more and more razzle-dazzle and often featuring grand restatements of the principal themes. The Grieg concerto is case in point.
Now here's where it gets really interesting. Grieg wrote all of this as arpeggios where the right hand and left hand alternate playing 4 notes each, like this. 4 notes. And Percy Grainger made a suggestion, which was that it would be a lot more powerful if there was a kind of a martellato effect with the hands.
Yuja worked together with Teddy in much the same way, making the piece her own, not just in her interpretation, but in rearranging and even rewriting certain passages to strengthen the effect that Teddy was going for.
One of the really cool ideas you had was on the big trill that comes before the recap. Mm-hmm. You wanted to change that. You actually made it way harder. You just like something like that. But we couldn't like figure out the tempo.
My signature move.
Remember we kept like glitching out while we were trying to get it to work. Like you were like, do it like this, and then like it's in this tempo, and I was trying to give the key. It took like 4 times. It eventually was way better the way you composed it.
It's actually a co-composing.
Another way in which Yuja was the Grainger to Teddy's Grieg was, in both cases, the composer admired the hell out of the pianist.
This passage here, like this is so, but like when I came to visit you in December before we did it, had you already worked on that passage or were you still kind of just?
No.
But you played it, you basically.
But it's arpeggios.
Yeah, but like this is not the repeated notes right there. It's not. That's not just.
Yeah.
It's not. That's not.
Now, it's one thing to be technically capable of playing such impossible music, but it's an entirely different thing to be able to go up on stage and nail it in front of thousands of people. When you're in the practice room, it's like,
no, okay. In the practice room, it's always fine. It's like, it's what's on the stage that counts, and, have a little faith.
And that faith gets stronger when you're prepared. And that takes a strong work ethic, one that Yuja shares with, of all people, the dude.
Actually, I was talking to Jeff Bridges. Action. And then you just have to be on the spot. Like, same with the concert. Like, 8 o'clock, and you just have to go on stage. I don't feel like playing this piece. He had the same thing to say, like, it's all about the preparation. And in a concert, the only thing you can do is empty all the worries and noise.
Yeah, well, the dude abides.
I don't know about you, but I take comfort in that.
Polystylism, improvised jam sessions, cadenzas galore. This piece doesn't seem like one thing, it seems like 100 things. Is there some glue that binds it all together? Is there something coherent here that is greater than the sum of its parts?